Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
What's going on YouTube? Diggy546, and today, just like last week, I feel like the perfect scenario happened. I feel like exactly what we could have hoped to happen today happened. Same as last week, we got a really entertaining game. We got to see some good football. We got to see some exciting football, but we also got to not fall down to 9 or 10. If we would have won this game today, we would have been picking 8th overall instead of 5th overall. The Cardinals did us a favor and beat Philadelphia. So that does two things. The first is it makes Philadelphia that much more motivated to win next week going into this next game. And then also, if the Cardinals can win next week against a Seahawks team that has kind of been struggling a little bit, but they kind of getting their feet back. But if they can win next week and we can lose next week, we could possibly, move up a spot. Same thing with Washington. They started off, you're thinking maybe they can go into, I don't know if they were there or they were at home, but maybe they could beat the 49ers. That didn't last long, but they started off pretty strong. But the two teams ahead of us, actually the three teams ahead of us, all got off to starts where you're like, okay, this could be a game. And then New England and Washington kind of fell back down to earth, and Arizona pulled off a huge upset, beating Philly. And it's funny because they always give Philadelphia issues, but we could possibly move up to number 4. I mean, in a crazy scenario, we can move up to number 3. But winning today, I would just say, and I hate to be in this position as a fan where you're like hoping your team doesn't win, because it just stinks. Like, you never want to be in this position as a fan. I've never been in this position in my life because I just have never really seen it from that perspective of like, if we don't lose this game today, again, we're picking 8th. And if we go into Philadelphia and have that same energy that we've had this week and last week, we could possibly go into Philly and win, or be at home and win. I don't remember which game we played already, but we could possibly beat Philly next week. And if we win these last 2 games, and then especially throwing the third game, we could be picking like 14th. So it's one thing to try to move up to 2 or move up to 3 or move up to one of those picks, number 1. It's one thing to do that from 5. And it's another thing to do that from 4, which I think is the best sweet spot for us. But it's another thing to do that from 14 or 10, because a team is picking number 1 overall. They want that pick. They want that number 1 overall pick. And for them to trade out of it, you have to give them value, which everyone understands that. But you also have to have a pick that's high enough to where even if they give up 3 first-round picks, even if they get 3 first-round picks out of it, they also get to have a top 5 pick, because if they're picking number 1, they need a player that's an impact player day one. Now, the Bears have that number 1 overall pick. Justin Fields has been playing really well lately. He's been having a lot of huge plays lately. So hopefully they hold on to Justin Fields and they're looking to trade that pick, which I would very much welcome to trade up to number 1 from number 5 or number 4. I think that would take probably our 2 second-round picks this year. I think it'd take our first this year, of course, where we'd be swapping. It'd probably take next year's first, and then you'd probably throw in a 3rd-round pick, maybe a 2nd-round pick next year. And I think that probably does it. So that's what, like 3 seconds, a first next year, first this year, and then you probably throw in, one more pick. I think something like that does it, moving from 5 to 1, because we will have competition for that pick. But let's talk about the game today. Let's talk about the game. Tyrod Taylor once again proved, as I think I uploaded a video yesterday, talking about how Tyrod Taylor has kind of just been the most consistent guy. He's getting the most out of every single play. And when I say getting the most out of every single play, obviously, I'm not saying he's making perfect decisions, perfect plays every play, but I'm saying on a play-in, play-out basis, average throughout the game, they're blitzing. He's getting rid of the ball quick. There's space to avoid a sack and make a play. He's usually doing things like that. So Tyrod Taylor today, a 300-yard game. I'm pretty sure this is the first 300-yard game since Daniel Jones against the Cardinals in week 2. 27 for 41 passes. 319, a touchdown, an interception on that deep shot, and one deep shot got called back that he completed to Jalen Hyatt. He might have like 360. He completed to Jalen Hyatt, but Daniel Bellinger was holding right there to allow him to escape. Got taken down 6 times. He was under pressure all day. Also, Matt Stafford was under pressure all day. And Tyrod Taylor also threw in 40 rushing yards, and he had another runner, too, that got called back. So probably without penalties and without a couple of unfortunate calls, Tyrod probably has about 400 yards, 410 yards. So good game from him today. Of course, you want that interception back, and you want him to complete a couple of these passes in the fourth quarter that he just missed, if you're, judging it objectively. Tyrod missed Saquon on that 2-point conversion. He had a ball where he just kind of threw it in the dirt on I think his last drive out there. He had another ball to Darren Waller across the field where he's just kind of fading away, and he didn't really have to fade away. And he overthrew Darren Waller. He had another ball that I think was behind Darren Waller too. So kind of difficult day for Tyrod, but also again he made some big plays, and to be honest, he made the plays at the end of the game that could have kicked us that field goal and won. We just didn't have the guy to get it done, and that's really what I'm looking at here is, can this team compete with some of the teams that are going to be playoff teams like the Eagles? They competed last week. With the Rams, they competed today. They should have won this game. I mean, they missed an extra point. They missed a 2-point conversion. So they should have probably won this game. They had a bunch of miscues, and so did the Rams. But both teams, you can make an argument they should have won the game. So the Rams, I'm pretty sure with the loss with the Seahawks losing today, they secure a playoff spot. So again, these are playoff teams, and the Giants went toe-to-toe with them for 4 quarters. This was not fool's gold. This is the team that we saw last year. This is what we saw last year from Brian Daboll, getting this team in position to win games every single week. I think Daniel Jones, as I said, his ceiling and his ability to play and make big plays, and that's including his leg and everything else, is just a little bit higher than Tyrod Taylor and also Tommy DeVito, which is why we probably were able to get to 9 wins. But I think with even the backup quarterback play this year, we're like 3 or 4, maybe 5 plays, and this is over games and games and games. We're probably about 5 plays away from being at 9 wins right now anyway. So that just, like I said, gives props to Coach Daboll. I don't think like some people are already jumping off ship. He's had some game management issues, but he had those same issues last year, and we won games. We made the playoffs. He was the coach of the year. So he's got to improve on that. But as far as coaching, as far as getting guys ready to go, as far as making this team competitive, I think he does a great job. And, I mean, he should be back here next year. He's going to be back here next year. But he absolutely deserves to be back here next year. He deserves a chance to play with the quarterback, to have a quarterback playing for the New York Giants that can really make things happen on a consistent basis. He just deserves that shot. Let's look at some of the other supporting plays. Wan'Dale Robinson had a nice reverse that he ended up scoring on. I'm excited to see what else they do with Wan'Dale Robinson. Throughout his career, he's a guy that can run those reverses. He can take handoffs. He can catch those screens. As you're seeing him get more comfortable. He's that guy that they hit. Today he had 6 receptions on 9 targets, and he's just that guy that you can hit in the short area, in the intermediate area, and make some plays, make some run after the catch kind of yardage. So Wan'Dale, I think he's going to be a good player for us, especially if we can get that number 1 wide receiver. Darius Slayton and Jalen Hyatt, to me, they have kind of proven what a lot of us were thinking at the beginning of the season, is that Jalen Hyatt and Darius Slayton both being out there running those deep routes is very, very difficult for a defense to cover. They both have proven that they can get behind the defense. And Tyrod Taylor has been the only quarterback that continues to just try to get the ball to them. He was trying to get the ball to Darius Slayton on that deep, on that go route. Just had the ball a little bit too far inside, but he's hitting these guys. Darius Slayton for the 2nd straight week and Tyrod Taylor for the 2nd straight week. Perfect pass on a long go ball. I don't know if that was a go route or if it was a post because I didn't see the whole route, but perfect connection from Darius Slayton and Tyrod Taylor on an 80-yard touchdown. Last week they had a 60-something yard touchdown. So this is just fun to see. Fun to see as fans. This is what we deserve to see. Looking at Jalen Hyatt, he just had such an up and down game. He should have had that long catch, which would have put him at about 60-something yards today. He should have had that long catch, but he just couldn't get it because again, Daniel Bellinger was holding, but he had a drop, I think, and then he had a catch where he's just got to get more depth on that route. It's a shallow cross, and he's running just kind of really straight across. And when he catches the ball, he comes back to catch the ball. So he's got to just kind of be a little bit more aware there on 4th and short that you got to be running that route either full speed, as the announcer even said, Mark Sanchez even said on TV. You got to be either running that route full speed where you just have so much separation that you can turn upfield, or you need to be, getting upfield past that marker before you catch that ball. Anything else? I mean, Isaiah Hodgins had a 18-yard catch today. He should have had a touchdown. He's got to attack that ball a little bit better. Darren Waller showed up. 51 yards today, but 6 targets, 5 yards. We can do six targets, 5 receptions. We can do that from your tight end. 51 yards from him. I think it's really good. And again, if that ball is on target, you're looking at like a 80, maybe 100-yard game from Tyrod Taylor to Darren Waller on that one catch. Mason Crosby, he's the MVP of this game as far as us making sure we get that high pick, but not that good today. Along a 32 yards of a field goal, I mean, that's like nothing in today's game. Miss an extra point, missed the game-winning field goal. So if you're really evaluating him, nothing much really was going on with Mason Crosby, and he kind of looked like at the end of the game that he's like, yeah, this might be my last time kicking for the New York Giants. Gunnar Olszewski. Gunnar Olszewski he has to be back here next year because he has been the best punt returner for the New York Giants and since Dwayne Harris. Really. And we haven't really had that many on a consistent basis. So Gunnar has to be back next year. I know they're going to find a way to just get rid of him for no apparent reason, but he should be back next year. He had one play where he just let the ball go over his head and he just made a really dumb decision. But after that, I would say he kind of got the most out of every punt. And then he returned a punt. I think almost like 90-something yards he returned that punt. And pretty much his play should have won us the game. But again, football guys are looking out for us. We need a new quarterback. And that would have messed us up. Some guys on the defense. Kayvon Thibodeau hasn't been as like standing out as he was kind of, about a month ago. But I'm sure if I look at the tape, I'll see he's doing something out there. But Bobby Okereke, another 10-tackle game, another game where he just really impacts the game from a start, from the beginning of the game to the end. 1.5 sacks today, got to the quarterback twice. Just what can I say? Bobby Okereke is consistently a really good player for us. I want to give a shout out to my man Dane Belton. Dane Belton got 2 interceptions today, came in for Jason Pinnock, who has been a really good player for us this year, but went out with a foot injury. And Dane Belton came in, a guy who most Giants fans have written off as just the guy that we wasted a pick on. But he came in today, like I said, got 2 interceptions, recovered a fumble. So I got to give him props for that. He was around the ball. Those are kind of easy plays to be made, but you have to be there, and you got to make the easy plays when they're there to be made, and he did it every time today. Isaiah Simmons with pretty much what should have been the game clinching kind of sack. But again, other things were in the cards. I think I've kind of gone through the entirety of the Giants team today for how they performed. But we are in a perfect position. If we can lose next week, if we can get an upset from the Cardinals or the Commanders this upcoming next week, and we can lose next week, we could possibly be picking number 3 overall. So I did not want to be in a position where we're picking 10th. So again, really entertaining game, well coached game for the most part from Brian Daboll. Had a couple of hiccups there, but this is what we want to see. We want to see this really competitive football going into next year, and hopefully we have a guy who can really, really elevate the team at the quarterback position coming in May. So you guys let me know what you're thinking of this loss. I know some people are completely against it, and they're like, we should be rooting for us to win every game, which I'm usually on 99% of the time. But this is a very special situation because you have, I think, 2 quarterbacks who are extremely special. And you have another quarterback who could be just as good as those other 2. And you have got to try to get your hands on one of those 3 quarterbacks. I just think this is not the year to win that game and end up having to take an offensive lineman or wide receiver.